right, good afternoon. I'm R.G. O'Leary. We are here for the February 1st, 2023 Policy Committee meeting. Frank McCree, Tim Creamer, and oh my God, Talia Michaels. Just totally blanked on your name. That's horrible. Tricia can't be with us today, but we will forge ahead, and she was instrumental in putting together a pretty lengthy agenda for us. So we will get through as much as we can. So the first item is safety, and this is something that we addressed in our last board meeting, full board meeting. We had talked about the Be Smart campaign, which relates to secure gun storage, and it's particularly timely considering the number of shootings that have happened involving children where the gun was taken from the child's home, was not secured and was loaded. So this is something that I think it's important. When we discussed it in our full board meeting, my sense was the full board was supportive of moving forward on a resolution. So we have a draft resolution to go through. Frank, do you want to take the lead on walking us through it?
So this is the sample policy. If you go to this, I hope everybody saw the new shared drive and how I tried to organize it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So if you go to that, it says sample right now, but I'm going to end up turning that to draft as we work on it. This is the one that came from Be Smart, and Gilliland also used this same model. They tweaked it a little bit. I figured we could use this as a basic kind of where we go for the resolution, and then from there we could always talk about where it goes after that. But figured this could be a basic one. So the first few parts are really talking about the reasons why that we're doing this. And that goes really up and through. Keep going down.
Yeah.
Second page.
Through the whereas.
Yeah, it's a lot of whereases. So it's the resolves, right, that I think we need to look at.
Yeah, my only question on the whereas clauses is, are we going to need to update them before we propose a resolution?
Make sure that our data.
To make sure the numbers are correct. I would assume that Be Smart, maintains a version that they continually update, but I would just want to confirm that.
No, that's a good point.
I don't have any issue with the particular clauses.
I'm just going to make a note. I'll reach out. Jessica.
Number's going to change every day.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yep. All right. Go to the resolves area.
Let's update the student handbook. Create an appropriate letter.
When we first talked about this, there was a couple things in there that you weren't sure you wanted to keep in here. I can't remember exactly what they were. So the resolution will direct me. This is why you need the resolution, because as a board, I will need direction of what you want me to do, right? So this is kind of saying superintendent will be charged with. So making sure that the update of the student handbook. Now there was conversation that we had about, is it really appropriate to have in the handbook? Is it not? Do people read it? My personal feeling is the more places that you can put something, the better off it is. So I would say handbook is appropriate.
Yeah. So the handbook.
Well, that's an audience you want to reach out, you want to communicate with.
Mm-hmm.
So is the handbook included in the notices that are required to be reviewed annually?
Yes.
At the beginning of the year?
At the end of the year. We try to do it before in through July.
Oh, right.
So, yeah.
Over the summer.
Yep.
Yeah.
The one that I have to write the letter, can we do something like English and known languages spoken in the community, or English and post it to the website where it can be translated?
Yes.
Because it says English and Spanish, like there's a lot of other languages that are spoken.
Why do you have to list languages?
Well, you don't have to direct it, but it says, I'm just saying, it says here in English and Spanish using the draft.
I understand.
Yeah.
We can take that language out.
I think if you just said an appropriate letter to parents and guardians.
And
I mean, anything that we
it,
post
we try to always have it.
should be able to be translated, right? Like,
Yep.
we don't have a translate button on our website.
Yes, we do.
Oh, we do?
Oh, yeah.
You don't need
The new,
that,
the new website, that was one of the number one reasons. If you go up to
Oh,
it and
okay. I know.
right on the top right-hand corner, you click on it and it has like 17 different languages or whatever it is,
I
and
didn't even
it
notice that.
completely translates.
All right,
take
perfect.
that comma out after the word letter.
Okay? We'll fix all the fonts too, they're funky.
So the letter, as I read this, is supposed to be included in annual registration materials.
Yeah.
Is it? So we don't register annually though, so that's like a one-time
Right.
thing, right? So that's. And I don't know that we need to say annual registration.
I think it can be put in registration materials.
Right, so
School registration?
Yeah,
yeah,
because they're not each school, it's just,
Oh, okay, you have it registered at each school, that's fine.
so,
and I don't know if we should require in signature or acknowledging awareness of secure gun responsibilities.
From whom?
Right, that's
if it's in the handbook,
the
and
parents,
that's part of the distribution,
right,
parents and students will sign that.
right, but I don't think in the registration paperwork, you should be requiring parents to sign off on it there. Is that the appropriate place for it?
How do we inform new students who are registering?
Handbooks. We give the code of conducts and handbooks.
So that would happen
Yeah.
upon
Yeah.
registration?
We can give this, the letter can automatically be in the registration. My question is, it says that they want you to require signature acknowledging that they saw it as part of the registration packet.
We're gonna get the signature as part of the
Code of conduct.
handbook, code of conduct distribution, right? And that would happen,
Maybe not for
If a new
elementary though,
student-
right? Does elementary parents sign off?
I believe.
Well, let's step back a bit here. Student handbook, it's distributed every year
Yeah, it's always online, it's always gone over. Yep.
So you
to
get
every student.
Yep.
Is it a physical handbook?
No, it's electric.
Okay.
So you get a notice at home over the summer, Tim, with
Hmm.
the required paperwork that includes links. Now, again, it's not electronic, so I don't think anyone actually types out the link and then gets to it. Hopefully people are just searching
Yeah.
and finding them, and then you have to sign, and your child needs to sign this acknowledgement, which gets returned to the school with their, like, beginning of the year paperwork.
So, but that's a whole handbook,
Mm-hmm.
electronic signature.
No,
No, you have to send it back in.
There's a form to
Yep.
fill
Yeah.
out and send it back in. But I could have signed that and sent it back in, never saw this
correct.
information.
Correct.
I mean,
You certify that you did read it.
yeah, I act like I read it, but, I mean, that probably 99% of the time anyway. So this, if you're trying to get to put this on the front, top of mind, front page, that probably doesn't do it. If you want people to say, I read this, this letter about gun safety.
Yep.
And I'm signing it, it should be specific to that.
So I think there's
And the
multiple.
question
components.
is, do you want to do that?
Well, I think there's multiple components. We put it in the handbook. I send out a letter like yearly, so parents get it through a letter.
Mhm.
And we put it in the registration packet. My question is for new registrants into the district, right? Do we want them to sign off that they saw it, or do we want to put that in the paperwork? Like, that's the question that I have. Because this is for new entrants, and we get new entrants like 50 a year at least.
Oh, I understand. The question is, do you want anybody to sign off on a letter acknowledging that enforcement?
That is really the board's decision.
Yeah, so handbook is the bare minimum,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Because it should be in there.
Yeah.
And included. The question is, do we want to highlight this? Is this an important enough subject that we want people
That's really it.
to to see it and
Mhm.
acknowledge it specifically.
Yeah.
I would say yes. I don't know how the full board would feel, but
I wouldn't have a problem with it, but people in the community will. If for some reason you're asking me to sign off on this thing,
all you,
Well, you're only asking to sign off that in the registration paperwork and in the code of conduct.
no, I
no,
mean,
no, we're
we're
saying,
talking about if you highlighted this as, you said, sign off on a letter specific about gun safety, right?
right. So in addition to student handbook, code of conduct, technology policy,
Yeah.
or whatever else.
You're
we-
throwing the grenade in the
I
road.
think that, and I also think that's very hard to monitor, and then what if they don't sign off on it and do sign off on it?
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's gonna be getting your message across, because do we want parents to come back and, okay, yes, we saw your letter, thank you very much. And then who's gonna follow up on that? And then what's the purpose? Do we want to make phone calls to these people saying we didn't see it, track that we saw it? Like,
What do we do with the student handbook and code
well,
of conduct?
we keep that, but that's different, right? Because we keep that because if there's an infraction of the code of conduct, then we know they have an understanding of it.
Right.
We're not
But if it's-
policing what they have at their home.
But if it's part of the same packet of information and acknowledgement.
Right, in the code of conduct. We're not keeping it separate though, correct?
Well, I think that's
why I
putting
need
it in
spelled
the
out what you want.
handbook
Mhm.
is one, that's bare minimum, like I
Mhm.
said. Then do we do a separate, like you have to acknowledge the technology policy, right? That says I won't use district computer systems to do A, B, C, and whatever, right? Is this a standalone document?
I don't think it really is, because not all parents have guns in the home. Like, again,
But
it's the board's decision. If the board wants that, I completely understand it. I'm not sure if we want to send out a letter to families saying, you saw this one document.
the purpose, I thought, of,
That's not even in
So-
their sample, is it?
no, it's not, but there was a version I thought that we saw, like the Gilderland version, that I thought presented the legal requirements that accompany, like, safe storage, which they exist
Mhm.
in law, right? And it's advising people of what those requirements are and their obligations if they happen to have a firearm in their home.
I could be convinced to keep this information in the student handbook. If I'm signing off on the student handbook, I'm acknowledging I've read this information. I think if you require a separate letter sign off, you're kind of you're asking for trouble. I think, I understand what you're saying. I don't
Yeah.
disagree with it, but there's gonna be people who are gonna be offended by that. There's gonna be people who say that doesn't apply to me and therefore I'm not gonna sign it and we're not gonna know.
Well, if we're gonna ask people to sign it, then we need a process to ensure that it gets signed. the
There's an
same way that
enforcement
we-
process. Now all of a sudden you got X number of letters that you're expecting to be sent in and you gotta chase down those that didn't.
Yep.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
Student
But my-
handbook's one thing,
Yeah, do we chase them down?
Yes, we do.
on- Okay,
on student handbook.
Yes.
and code of conduct.
I add-
That's all.
I added the Gilderland on the bottom of this one.
So the Gilderland thing was more of, well, I might need to refresh. I have the document open. Ah, crap, I'm not connected. Hang on, let me get connected.
So I think the answer is for the registration packet, yes, you want that in there, and yes, you want people to sign off on it. For the registration of new residents.
I don't know that we need to duplicate the signature at registration if the code of conduct student handbook is a part of the registration process and those acknowledgements. Then,
Walk me through, I think I have so you're saying as part of the student code of conduct, the parent signs off, I saw the student code of conduct, I saw this, and I read this, like a little statement on the bottom. So it's not a separate one, it's just part of the three that they'd have to sign.
Or you could even do it as a checkup. You know, you could have one signature, said, you know, I've read this.
Yeah.
I've read that.
Yep.
I've read that,
those
check,
signify-
check, check, sign.
Staff to update student handbook information.
That'll make it a lot easier.
So,
Yeah, that's not how the form is currently set up, because I think for
yeah, it's not, we'd have to change
each
the form.
one, they want like an individual parent signature and student signature for each one. You could change it by signing
Well-
below, I certify that I've read the above, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly.
One signature, that would perhaps address your concern.
Well, I am trying to keep this simple. And if you have a whole bunch of different forms that have to be signed off on, tracking down and enforcing that signature process could be cumbersome.
And it would be, but it would list all the different things. I read this.
Well,
this,
if it was
yeah.
on one,
Yeah, no, I think that's actually a better idea. I thought you were looking at sending just this one out and then a response back.
not me.
Yeah, no, I'm saying as in general, the board. I think doing this way might actually be a good way, because you're saying, yep, I saw.
So you need a signature for code of conduct.
Mhm.
You need a does that include the student handbook, or is that separate?
Code of conduct is a student handbook.
Same thing. Okay, used interchangeably. All right. So you got student handbook, code of conduct. What else?
Technology,
Technology. And then this,
which would be with that.
which would be a third box, so to
Mhm.
speak. So if you checked, read that, sign.
Mhm. I think we could work through that.
Is it legal to do that way? Does the state require it a certain way?
No, not that I know of. I'd have to
No.
check, but I don't
No.
believe there's any requirement of how they have to acknowledge it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I've never seen, it's been different every time.
It just has to be an acknowledgement.
Yep.
I've received it and I've read it.
Yeah, and that's not a state requirement. That's like a legal requirement to say that you're informed of the issues that.
Oh, okay, okay.
Like, you have the information we provided with you, you understand the expectations behind all these things.
If you can accomplish all that you need to get with one signature, I think that's your best bet.
So would you like the first one being, it would go in the handbook and require signature of, I don't know the words to look for, but the first resolved? How would you want that?
Well, the process around what happens with the handbook is different from this resolution. We're not changing that.
No, but
Okay?
but you're asking for the resolution to be signed off on. That's the question, is where do we put that in the resolve? That the superintendent will send it, or are we done and you're requiring that it's signed off on?
Right where you got it.
So it would not be yeah, I think it could go in that paragraph.
Right,
Board directs the superintendent and staff to update the handbook to include information, and ensures that, receipt of such updated handbook is acknowledged either, at registration or registration of a new student, or, annually.
Well, you had that in the second paragraph.
Yeah, that's why I don't know that we need that, right?
yeah, I missed what you said, all. It is acknowledged.
We can still direct you to do a letter every year
What you should.
highlighting why we're requesting
Yeah.
parents and students to acknowledge each of these things, what they're about and why they're important.
And
All right, I fixed that, but I missed the registration component. Can you look at that sentence and?
Yeah,
That makes, see, that just encompasses the resolution, makes it clear of what the expectation is.
yeah, ensures that receipt, I would say, of the updated student handbook in caps is acknowledged, by so the handbook, the whole thing is going to be acknowledged by students and parents, guardians, right, as part of that beginning of the year process. I don't know that you need to say specifically noting a receipt.
Okay, of the safe storage, or no?
No,
Okay,
ensures that receipt of the updated student handbook is acknowledged. I would just put a D on the end of that. I would do annually or upon registration by the parent, guardian, and student.
Does the student sign that on it now?
Mhm.
This is where we need to make sure we're right about what happens in elementary school though.
The
'Cause I
students
think-
don't sign off on the registration, but the handbook they do. I believe they.
I remember there being some, I'm not that
I'm just
far
gonna
from
te- I'm
elementary
just
school, I
texting.
should remember.
I have one in it. I should know. I have two in the elementary school. I have no idea.
Sure, it's a receipt of the
So I even feel worse. I got two kids in the elementary school. So I'm just wondering, if kindergarten students do. All right, so I'm gonna confirm that with Mr. Vivenzio and we'll move forward.
Okay. And by the way, I only have about an hour.
Okay,
We're
so-
spending a lot of time on this,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is fine. I think some of the other stuff will go quicker.
It will. So let's
Um,
see what else needs to be done on this one and we'll move.
Okay, so the second paragraph,
I would
result-
lose that last phrase about it requiring a signature. Because I think if you're gonna include this information in the handbook
We're
and
just gonna
requiring
do
a
it.
signature,
You
I
on the
don't-
second resolve, Tim?
Boom,
huh?
You on the second
Yeah.
resolve?
Yeah.
I got rid of it.
So
Because now
there
since it's
just
in the
says,
registration
direct
paperwork.
you to have a letter that gets distributed.
Yeah, so is this an annual letter or
Yeah.
is it,
Or.
To all parents and students?
Yeah,
Like,
it would be a district-wide, like we would do it through.
I think we're getting way into the weeds,
Yeah.
worrying about annual distribution. We want him to update the handbook, create a letter and distribute it. And this last one is work with enforcement agencies. All this when, where, and how, I think is getting way too deep for us.
okay,
This is just a resolution.
yeah,
It's not a process.
and I would delete appropriate,
Do you have access or refunding?
right? Just, distribute a communication to parents and guardians. Oh. Okay. If the letter is like a specific thing, right? We just want you to get out a message, whether it's, I don't know, I guess we might disagree on that. I don't know.
Right?
Or just say to
Is a
communicate to
letter-
parents and
Is
guardians.
the letter the means by which it, or is there some other?
Why don't we say information and then
Information.
allow the
Then-
superintendent, like,
Exactly.
who or what, because if I'm not here, let's say it's 7 years from now, it might be through a forum, it might be through multiple letters, like, it depends too, like, you never know what the current cases are in the United States either, like, so it could be
Add the word
warranted
to.
where we are, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now add word to.
Distribute information is perfect.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Because I'm like, oh, I think I have like 3 different ways I can do this.
So on this, I'm sorry, but on the second one again, I do feel like it's important to put annually in there because like 7 years from now, let's say if you're gone, Frank, God forbid,
Annually, I'm fine with
Put
it.
in the
Right,
word
because
annually,
we
right
want-
before distribute. First one.
Yeah, I'm fine with annually.
I just don't want, like.
You don't
this
want it to
should
be a one and
I
done.
don't want it, it's not a one and done. And be it finally resolved, board and superintendent will continue to work with local law enforcement. I'm good with the last one.
All right, I'm gonna leave the legal components in the resolution as well.
Where's, what?
I put it on the bottom now, I stole it from the Gilderlin one.
Would be,
Footnotes.
Yeah,
footnotes?
Yep.
Yeah. I think
I'll
that's
leave that
good.
in there. Okay.
Yeah, I think, citations are good for this, especially if there's a concern that it might ruffle feathers.
I don't think I mean, it's notification, that's all it is.
It's information.
Yep,
Do
so.
with it what you want.
Night, Jim.
I
Night, Jim.
Just
I
realized we're
think when we
recording.
do, just as an aside, when we do these policy things, I wanna focus on what and why.
Yep.
And not get into how, when, where, and by whom.
Yeah.
I really think that is operational detail.
Well, that's really good when we get into the next one.
Okay, all right, so let's jump back to the agenda. So I think we've got, it needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah,
But we've got the bones for the
Yeah.
resolution, and we can present it to the full board, I think, in our next meeting. I think.
yeah, I'll have Jessica put it on.
Okay, good. And then the next, within this part of the agenda is discussing a possible plan for how. That, I think, to Tim's point,
Yeah, we're good.
is yours to figure out. You can present us recommendations if you think you need to. Otherwise, we're good.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Good?
Good.
All right, next item is policy 5152, admission of non-resident students.
Yeah, so this one I'll just be really quick. We talked about changing it and adding, for like employees, if they live with other people. Our lawyer and counsel stated that we should leave it as is and not make any changes to it or changes to our practice.
Okay,
He said it would muddy the waters and, the outcomes actually could have further outcomes than we would actually understand right now. And he started explaining some of it and I see the points. So recommendation is just to keep it as is.
so remind me, why were we considering?
We had an employee whose child currently goes to school here, a grandchild, and the whole family lives together. They're leaving. And they would like the right to be able to have the child go here at a reduced tuition, even though they're not the sole guardian. Problem with that ends up being that, let's say anybody says, oh, well, grandma lives in Voorheesville and she works in the district, so now the child's gonna live there just so they can come to school here because they don't like the school district they're in. It just opens up, unfortunately, it opens up a lot of other avenues. Our current policy is just, it's really clear. It's this or this. And sometimes with policy, I think you have to be clear because it's the other stuff that could be the issue.
Okay, yeah, I read the current policy. I didn't have any recommended changes to it. Anybody else?
No,
Sometimes the answer is no.
yeah, and I'm gonna go with our attorney on this one. Like, they see bigger picture than we do, than I do, so.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah,
the
so,
permutations,
so,
okay, good.
Yep.
All right, so we'll put that one to bed. Next item is sports and extracurricular policies. We were considering combining a couple of we don't currently have the policy that NISBA has a recommended change on 5205.
so I went through this with Trish and went through it with her and went through it with the admin and the athletic director. So we have an extracurricular code of conduct. We have an athletics code of conduct, but honestly, they all can be combined together. And so can 5200. So 5200 and all those code of conducts should all be the extracurricular and co-curricular activities. So I have a draft 5205, and that would be that we could actually get rid of a couple policies, combine them all together, and it really does make it the same for everyone who participates in extracurricular co-curricular. So that's kind of what the recommendation I'm gonna have is, make this one fit for everybody.
Yeah, so we had in one of the policies, in the 5000s, there was a reference to, I gotta find it now. I thought it was 5020, but that's students with disabilities, so that's not the one that I was looking at. So in the current 5200, there's a cross-reference to 5020 educational opportunities, which is different from what we have as we have 5020.3, but no 5020. At least not that I'm seeing in our policy manual.
Yeah, so
So we need to,
we can just get rid of that.
yeah, we probably can just delete that, but
Yeah.
I'm wondering, is there something else in that policy as it existed at some point
So,
that we don't incorporate? We probably have it somewhere else. I just haven't dug that out.
well, what I found is, like, so on the bottom, the 4321, and I talked to NISBA and put in there, our 4322 is different than NISBA's recommended 4322. It's a complete different policy, but ours is fine. So sometimes we maybe just didn't order them right or number them correctly. So this could be one of those times that they didn't order them right.
Right, or we missed an update.
Yep.
That's happened.
That's happened.
Okay.
So my recommendation for 5200 is just get rid of it. And if you want to keep it about the board's belief in extracurricular activities and co-curricular activities, just add it to the top of this one.
Put it in here. Yeah, I'm fine with that. There was a note in here in the draft about enforcement. It's at the top of,
Yeah,
I think it's page 3 maybe,
yeah, so when I wrote this, I added some notes into it.
top of page 2.
Okay. So this one is, it talks about the after school and outside.
Where are you now?
So we went through the first page.
Of
Oh,
what
sorry, I
policy?
skipped
Oh, sorry, 5205.
Okay, yeah,
The draft
Yeah.
one.
yes.
It starts out draft, hyphen, and 5205.
Yeah. There's a hyperlink to the student and parent agreement. I haven't gone into that yet.
Yeah.
So,
Probably signed that, but I have no recollection of it.
so at the bottom of that first page, it says eligibility and continued participation in the co-curricular and extracurricular activities, and that's sports, plays, clubs, everything, is extended to students, is a privilege, not a right. So behavioral standards set forth in the code of conduct apply to everybody. Then here's the one that the admin team would like me to bring up. All students participating in athletics would inform that they have an obligation to act in a responsible manner. It should be co-curricular. Gotta fix that, sorry. Manner because the athletes they play, so adhere to ban on the consumption use of alcoholic beverages or those prescribed on or off campus. So that's the one that the admin said, like, look, that's really difficult because sometimes you get the information, sometimes you don't. It's hard to prove, it's hard to police. That's the one where that one becomes the sticky widget a lot of times. Like sometimes there's blatant issues that you can find. And other times it's, well, this person was doing it, but there were these 20 other people that were doing it. We can't prove that they did. We only can prove that this person did. And it's that overstepping of where does the district, this is what the team wanted me to bring up, is where does the district's responsibility lie on this? And I play devil's advocate. I say, well, if you say nothing, then you're endorsing, right? Because you're saying no.
You leave yourself no mechanism to do anything.
Right.
In a situation that really needs.
Exactly. So they wanted me to bring it up. I believe we should leave it in.
I think you could leave it in, but but I don't know what your disciplinary outcome is.
There is on the bottom. So you'll see that there is disciplinary outcome.
And is that enforceable?
Oh, only if you have proof.
Right.
But I will tell you, I've been a high school principal before, and I was an assistant principal for 17 years. I did that role. There's a lot of gray area, and there's a lot of battles, and you're not going to win them all.
I think the statement as is,
Mhm.
all student participants, including athletes, will be informed that they have the obligation to act in a responsible manner because of the leadership roles they play in the school environment. The result are expected to adhere to a ban on the consumption or use of alcohol, beverages, drugs, and those appropriately prescribed. And other than those appropriately prescribed, and or tobacco products on or off campus. I mean, you could add that a statement, that's our expectation.
Yep.
How enforceable that is.
That's the gray.
And
I say we keep it.
It's a different, how enforceable it is a different issue.
yeah, it
This
is.
is a statement of what our
Good.
Expectation.
policy and expectations
Did
are.
everyone at this table tell you, how do you feel on that one?
Yeah, I think it should be left in.
There you go.
Yeah.
So everybody at this table agrees.
I agree.
I have to bring up when there's a different viewpoint from my team. I still want to bring it up. So I brought it up.
I totally get
Yeah.
the proof problems.
Yep.
That may come about.
Yeah,
But
I think that's
I don't want to not
appropriate.
be have the opportunity to do things if we can.
I'll say as a parent,
Mhm.
I like it being in there.
As do I.
Because I think it clearly articulates what the expectation is.
And I like it for both athletes and non-athletes.
Right, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter what club you're in, doesn't matter what you do after school, you're adhering to an expectation.
Right, and those things which we state are privileges, not rights.
So the training rules is new. Training rules are generally accepted as a condition of participation in student athletics and may include attendance at practices, individual training programs, etc. Similar rules of rehearsal, attendance, and practice may apply to other extracurricular, co-curricular activities such as the musical dramas, etc. I think that's important because there's an expectation of attendance to be a part of things, and sometimes people forget that. So having it be a part of their code of conduct and expectations should be there.
I'm good with it. I thought that was in our current policy.
I think I stole that one from Bethlehem. Maybe it is though.
I think it was. No, because we don't have this policy, but I thought it was somewhere.
There may have been a similar aspect in our athletic one, but not our.
You know, I was probably looking at the prior version of this one.
That paragraph that says the superintendent designee shall create a training for all advisors.
Mhm.
Do we need that?
Yes,
It better happen then.
that's why I'm on it.
Okay, because if for some reason some kid says, I never heard that.
No, that's, hold on. Superintendent designee shall create training for all advisors
Right.
in corresponding groups, meaning who I say.
To convey expectations within the code.
Absolutely.
But if that never happened,
Then I have somebody to blame.
okay, all right.
Like, it's that hierarchy of understanding.
Okay.
I want students to understand what has to happen.
Right.
Where the advisors and coaches told, yep, because my designee was supposed to do so. So I want to have
All
that.
right.
I don't have that now. I want that.
Well,
That
also,
clear
you
line.
want a consistent message being conveyed
Exactly.
from.
Yep.
You know,
All expectations are the same.
Got it.
all right, so just getting through the rest, there's a self-referral section that's, no, I don't remember seeing that in any of our current policies.
No, this is one that they want in here. They feel pretty strong that if somebody's recognizing that they're going to bring something to their attention and do it, that it shouldn't be the same as somebody hiding it.
The SEC model of enforcement.
1 year.
Securities and Exchange Commission,
Okay, I didn't know what you were saying.
or US Department of Justice. You get credit if you out yourself.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
But it could lead to, I don't see the harm in this one.
I don't either. I think from a policy perspective, it's good, right?
Yeah.
If somebody has a problem and they're acknowledging
Yep.
it and they wanna
Get
get
it?
help,
Yep,
we're not gonna drag
exactly.
you over the head.
Or are they necessarily reporting upon themselves, or are they narking on somebody else?
No, it's gotta be themselves, self-referral.
Okay.
And see something, say something, and we want kids to be able to say
I
if they see
agree.
bad behaviors. So, and then it goes to our violations. Our violations haven't changed. They're the same as they've been before.
Are we enforcing?
We're enforcing this for athletics. We are not enforcing this for anything else. I think that becomes some of the issues, right? Is that there's a discrepancy between the two, of where it's being enforced or not.
So these penalties, where do we have them written down? Or do we not? Because I didn't see them elsewhere. Are they in the regulation? Maybe I missed it.
No, they were in the athletic code of conduct.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
That's what I'm saying. I took 3 of
So
these
we're pulling
things
them
because it
all.
was all a mess. Like,
Yep.
So I tried to put them all together so you have one comprehensive document that is consistent across the board. And I don't think this is the final draft, but it's a good start.
Yeah, I think it's a better direction to go. And I think it, reinforces that these are all important
Yeah.
extra co-curricular activities.
And the other aspect of it, if you look at it, is there's always the opportunity for growth, right? It's not like a full, okay, you're done, it's over. It's no, we can do this, it can be lessened, or you can get better at that. Same when we get to the academics component, it's, if you're doing this and getting better, then you shouldn't be penalized. Like, the idea is growth, not punishment.
I would tell you that this is no longer properly titled as eligibility for co-curricular and extracurricular activities, because it's more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I see about partway down, it says student extracurricular / co-curricular code of conduct.
Mhm.
That's what this is.
I can change the title. I'm just using the NISBA title.
Yeah, I understand, and I'm just
Oh, yeah. I
telling
agree.
you, it's no longer about eligibility. I mean, that's only a part of it.
Yeah, I like that too.
It's a broader document.
We're just gonna call it code of conduct?
Well, you got student extracurricular / co-curricular code of conduct, about halfway down the page.
Yeah.
That really is what I envision this whole document is now. And within it is eligibility.
I agree, Tim. Back to the penalties.
Mhm.
How do these penalties align with other districts? Are we more harsh, the same?
They run the gambit, right? Sometimes there's places that are less, sometimes there's places that are more. We're right in the middle.
First string playoffs,
Well,
it's gray. All of this stuff is.
Oh, I know.
So I will
Yeah,
tell
20
you, with me, if it's the night of the play and the kid was caught smoking marijuana, then guess what? The kid isn't in the play. Like, I'm like, people don't like it. And I will be honest, in my career, people have not enjoyed me taking the star quarterback off a team or doing those things, but I don't consider these to be gray. I consider them to be, this is what the expectation is. If that's the policy,
I was answering in response to other districts.
I totally agree.
They're all over the map.
But this one is, we've seen the other districts. I asked Joe to look. He says these are fair in comparison to what he's seen.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, first offense, 20 days, that's almost 3 weeks. Now, if it's a play, that could be,
I know.
you could miss the whole thing. If it's a sports season and it's happened in the middle of it, you can miss the end,
No, so hold on. It can be 10 days though, if the student has participated in an evaluation by a healthcare professional is provided. So that's the idea behind it, is that it's 20, but you can be lessened if you're actually getting support. So if you're using alcohol or smoking marijuana or doing those things, or you're smoking tobacco, if you're going to a physician and get a cessation product, there you go. Now you're on a cessation product. You're no longer going to be smoking tobacco. We're getting you off of it. Now it's a 10-day penalty instead of 20. That was what Joe was explaining to me, is that with ours, there's the ability for them to lessen it by helping themselves. And I haven't seen that in other policies before, in other districts I've been in. Usually it's, you're done.
Yeah. And I guess we don't have anything, that's the only place you can help yourself is after the first one.
Yeah, the other ones are.
After the others.
I hate when I do that.
Well, I kind of feel,
No, I'm.
it's scaffold discipline, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's wrong.
I know it can
I'm
be
just
difficult.
pointing out the potential harshness
Mm.
of policy.
And I'm fine with changing it if we deem it, but
I think you gotta have some rules.
yeah.
And expectations and a high bar. And if you can't do that, well, I'm sorry, then you're not gonna be able to participate.
I did question the third violation, because I felt that one was really harsh. But as they said, application for reinstatement must be in writing to the high school principal under the following terms. High school, or let's see. I'm just gonna pick up.
So it's a 1-year suspension? Of extracurricular activity.
I feel that one was.
So I just want to go back up to what the prohibited conduct is, because this only mentions drug, alcohol.
So go down, actually you go down to extracurricular code of conduct infractions, that's the appendix. And it lists all those things. Examples of those activities include but are not limited to.
Yeah, like hazing, right?
Yep,
That may not involve alcohol or drugs. If you are busted for that 3
Right.
times,
how do you then show that you're getting
right?
counseling,
Yeah,
right?
Are these violations mutually exclusive? So if I did hazing in my first violation, but my second violation had to do with, distribution of,
No,
huh?
I would say no.
They're linked.
Yes.
It's a second violation of
the
this,
policy.
Of the
of the
policy,
policy.
yep.
Yeah, but like a kid, a kid who gets, well, we have in here red cards, technical fouls. Like, the kid gets 2 technicals in 2 consecutive games. Are we disciplining them?
I
I
can,
mean, now you
yeah,
can get a technical foul for
for
flopping,
anything.
right? Like, I mean, that to me is, I don't think that's the intent, right?
Can we take that one out?
I think we need to,
where's that one?
I would take out the examples, right? Consistent violation of
By the way, I stole some of
sportsmanship
these.
rules.
Yeah,
Right, because, if a kid gets kicked out of a game, are we
boom, taking it out.
disciplining them under this?
That's-
We have
Oh, I
not.
see what-
So
I've
this,
seen
these
kids get
came out
red
of,
cards in games and
Yeah.
nothing's,
Just poor sportsmanship.
Yeah.
You're gonna take that. What is that?
So-
yeah, I would leave the section 2 rules. Because I think that they have those rules articulated and we can point back
So-
to them.
section 2 sportsmanship.
Sportsmanship rules.
So what do you want me to take out?
That's the-
Such as red cards,
Okay.
technicals, game ejections.
That's gotta be the least problematic on the list.
I would say so. I had to ask people what some of these things were, so. I gotta be honest with you.
And back to the reinstatement.
Mhm. I wrote a note up there.
Yeah, I would say like appropriate counseling or behavior management
Yeah.
program, something like that.
Yeah, I think,
Those programs exist.
or like pins or prevention, could that be part of it if they're stealing?
Or it could be if you're hazing and bullying, like you get a red card in every game because you punch a kid, but
Right.
that you need anger management.
Isn't the coach gonna take care of that?
I would hope.
Yeah, I think that. No?
Yeah,
Come on.
I think having expectations as a district and having a
Yeah.
clear understanding of what is there allows for you to give your vision and expectations to others.
Agree with all
Yeah.
that, but when we start talking about athletic violations on the
I think-
field,
Let me put it this way.
honestly, I think that's part of the
In a
game.
general statement, I think coaches, try and do the right thing, but sometimes if it's your star player.
I've been in a
you
district
might-
a very long time ago
Yeah.
where there was a coach who routinely had their students do just play dirty. And the coach never didn't end up working there any longer, but it was an
But
expectation.
let's talk about this.
Yeah.
This kid gets red flagged. there's a referee out there for
Mhm.
starters.
Mhm.
The referee's gonna red flag.
Yep.
And at some point, the referee has authority to
Yeah.
enforce the rules of the game.
Yep,
The coach has authority to enforce behavioral expectations of the team.
Yes.
absolutely,
I think,
and should.
I think that the likelihood that it's ever gonna reach this level, if it's an athletic violation during a game, is slim to none.
There's discretion in here.
Yeah, there's
in
a lot of
terms
discretion.
What constitutes a
But
consistent,
when I talked to
violation.
Joe, he asked for this to be in here.
Well, that's
Because
fine.
he's done this for 30 years. He's seen times where you may have a student who does this consistently doing these things and does not stop, right? Having the ability to say, now you're gonna have a consequence from a major consequence.
right.
Oh, I
changes
agree,
that.
it
Yeah.
needs to
Or
be
you-
here.
You could have situations where, it's a physical game, the ref starts taking it out on kids, and you're the next kid who commits the
Yeah.
violation, and you get the red card, even
Yeah.
though you were pretty well behaved. So I think there's discretion in here.
Moving forward on it, so we did change up the banned substance list. We added the NCAA substance list. So that can change and be modified, but
Let's see a clean version of this thing, and then I think we should take a look at that.
this is a clean version.
Well, I know, but it's got a lot of different, I don't know, the various sources all coming together make it, it reads inconsistently.
I think there's
cut and
jumps.
paste.
Like, we could help,
It's a cut and paste
synthesize.
job.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's all it needs.
So do you not want the NCAA banned substance
No,
list in
I'm
here?
good
No, I think
Okay.
that's fine.
No, all I'm saying is you got a million different ingredients in this thing, and I'd like to see it cooked up as a souffle.
So could you give me the recommendations that you'd like on it? Because as RG said,
I like them all.
no, I'm saying is how you want this organized, because
I'm a visual learner. I need just to see this thing in one type of font, one
Okay.
size.
that's what I need to understand.
That's
what
all
you're
I
looking
need.
for.
It's all like, it reads
Okay.
well.
So that's what I'm looking for. I was trying to figure out, do you want like an index? Do you want?
Nah.
No, that's why you never know. I'm trying to understand it. RG, what do you think? Like,
I think we could,
Style.
some of it's just, I think, because right now it's in a million different
Yeah,
fonts.
okay,
and
the
there's
fonts
links
are the
to
issue.
other things, and, we haven't kind of made clear, like some of it reads like it came from a regulation. Right?
Mhm.
So I think we need to
okay,
clean up some of that so
Yeah.
that it's clear it's a statement of policy.
if you look at those things and where you want to change them, just highlight the change, and you can always add comment to it. So then we can all look at the comment as well.
Well, for example, this very top section, you have multiple, it's double spaced or something like that.
Well, the reason for that one is I didn't know if you were be willing to say 5200 can move into here, and then we can abolish 5200 from the
Okay,
handbook.
all right.
So I just put that
You're
in
just
there very
gonna-
quickly, and if you didn't want it, I would just take it out and leave
So
5200.
everything just gets, once I see a clean
Yep.
version.
Yep,
I'll be
got it.
fine.
Okay, that works for me.
Perfect. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, all right, back to the agenda. That was the big one.
It was a big one.
Okay.
So I'll be really quick on the green procurement.
Yep, go ahead.
It's going on there. It's out there. There's things that you can do for it. NISBA does not have a policy yet. They're working on it, and we need a policy in order for us to do it. The question is going to be is, some of this might cost a little bit more and a little bit less because you're going green and you're buying green, but you're getting a seal for it. And I know that, the board has talked about environmental friendliness and stuff, so
Yep.
it just seemed like something we should be doing.
Yeah, I think this raises a bunch of issues in terms of balancing going green versus potential financial costs that.
And quality.
Yeah, and quality, right, I think we need to see the policy so
Yep.
we can figure out how we wanna do that balancing, because, we'd love to be as green as possible, but if it's gonna cost millions and millions of dollars,
That was one of the
we may
questions.
not.
They said over
be able to get
time,
there, yeah.
it would equal out.
Right.
I did put in the slide deck from the presentation that I went to. So that is on the shared drive. So I was gonna go over some of it, but since, we don't have a lot of time, but
Okay.
please look over it. So I went to a presentation from the state on this. So the slide deck is in there so you can see what the state expectations are.
Okay.
So it's underneath where it says green procurement, you'll see it.
Okay, that's good. I say we move on to fly through these next, set, which are first quarter policy updates from NISBA. These, I think, for the most part, were pretty, tame and implementing either legislative changes or, like, it's really just statutory changes. So anything you want to say on these, or anybody else who reviewed them have any?
Well, the
Comments or
homebound
questions?
instruction has a whole bunch of new language.
Yes.
Is that just different from ours, or is it, we've never done this before, or is this?
It's just, look at ours.
Yeah, so.
I'm sure I found ours.
It's on there, it's on that shared drive. It
Okay.
says VCSD above it, so I labeled it first.
Oh, I see where it's going.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Okay. Oh, so it's a lot of new language.
Yeah, ours was from 2014.
Yeah.
Right, and I think on this one though, wasn't this making where's the one where we're making the distinction between suspension? Oh, it's this one.
It's this one.
Yeah, so that's what I thought was really new in this, was pulling in the difference between student who requires homebound instruction due to, illness or injury versus.
And it's also changing the amount of hours. They've increased the hours that students get.
Well, is the 10 hours, 2 hours a day an increase?
Yeah,
10 per week, 2 per day?
Yep.
Oh, because before it just said 2 hours per day.
so they're changing everything.
I got it. But that's what the law requires.
Yeah, it's all law required.
I mean, the if possible is recommended, right?
Sounds like this whole
Aspirational.
policy is as the law requires.
Yeah, I'm fine with going in with NISBA's. I have no problem with it.
Would we have any difficulty complying with the 3 hours? I mean, to me, it seems aspirational, but.
The 3 hours is required. Which one are you talking about?
So we've got at least 10 hours per week for at least 2 hours per day, if possible. So that to me means 10 hours per week.
Yep.
Period. And starting July 1, at least 15 per week, at least 3 hours per day, if possible. So, okay, so the
Yeah, it
15,
changes.
Yep, the 15 from the 10.
And so the way that we were told the superintendents is, it's not if possible, it is you will.
Well,
Like, that's the
yes,
expectation
yeah,
of the
so-
legislation is you will be 15 hours a week, you're upping your numbers.
So really what it went from was 2 hours per day, period, to 15 hours a week mandatory.
Yeah. And elementaries went way up.
Yep, yes.
But this whole thing is law.
It's law, you gotta do it.
Okay.
And we knew it was coming.
This piece about written instruction delivery plan, that was not in our current policy.
No.
And then the addition on the suspended students is new.
Well, because now you can do some online versions, some not.
Right.
Because before, we used to all have to be
In person.
in person.
I don't have any objections to the NISBA version on it.
On the agenda, it says 6380 or
It's supposed to be, it's,
6830.
yeah, that was a typo.
Okay, so that one, the change was, new rates.
Picking out the shells.
So I think we're good if we follow their recommendation to just reference, the rate fixed by the IRS for business travel.
Smart to do it that way.
Right? Then we don't have to keep
Right.
revisiting this every time there's a rate change.
Right.
So the only question I had on this one, and I couldn't find, and I didn't look that hard though, honestly, the revised policy that I think the board voted on about attendance by board members at professional meetings. Because we have in here, in this draft, the board by majority vote will determine and approve which meetings and conferences may be attended by board members and the superintendent of schools at district expense. I think we said something different than that.
Yeah, I don't think
in
we
a
have that.
policy that we,
It's not by board vote,
no.
no.
No, it's
No.
kind of like the president's approval or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, we talked about this. a few
And mine is
months ago.
actually driven by my contract on some
Yeah,
of those
yeah.
conferences.
So I think we should take that
Where is that,
paragraph
RG?
out.
It's right after that one annotation that's,
Bottom of page 1.
yeah.
Thank you.
It's the board by majority vote will determine, you see that?
Yep.
Yeah, I think if that comes out, then I think we're good and we will not conflict with the policy. I looked for it in our current manual, but I don't
Agreed.
think we've made that change yet.
So, I know you gotta go real quick. What if I wanna go to Texas? Now, I don't, but I know some superintendents, they go to like the AASA conferences and stuff like that, like it does,
I would say you can,
right, without,
well, as you said, yours is driven by your contract.
Right, that
If
one's
it's
on
not in your contract.
correct.
So if it's not in your contract, I do think you gotta,
Right.
approach at least the president.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree.
And there's gotta be a budgetary allocation.
Should there be something in here about that?
I would not put that in.
Okay. Works for me.
No, I
Okay.
think it's.
Yeah, I mean, I
like a
have to have
cost
approval by the board.
limitation. I mean, we already have policies
Good,
that we
okay.
address in
Just-
audit, right?
Yeah.
About expense
You know,
limitations and what approvals are required.
The thing I would suggest to you, I know I said this in my contract, I was allowed to go to certain things, and it was kind of like, I didn't have limits.
Mhm.
It's like, it would say like, meetings of the National School Board Association, American Association of School Administrators, or other related organizations, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was expected that I don't abuse that.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so.
I just wanna make sure.
Yeah, I was within if all of a sudden I said, hey, I want to go to this great conference, it's over in, Switzerland.
Right.
There would be a question about that one, right?
Okay, all right, and then the last one that I think we wanted to get to today was disclosure of wrongful conduct, which is a whistleblower policy. The revisions were to address some changes to civil service law section 75B. And that was in terms of who do you have to tell if you have a violation to report. So I didn't have any issues with this one. Anybody else have questions or concerns about the NISBA draft?
Is that just law too?
So the only piece of this that really, as I read it, requires us to make some decisions is there's a section in here where we're encouraging employees or officers to think that they've observed some wrongful conduct. They're encouraged to report to certain individuals within the organization. So we can define, if they feel comfortable, who those individuals might be. So that, I mean,
Where do you see
Frankly,
that? Where are you talking about?
it's, page 2, like kind of in the middle of the page.
Complaints or
Employees
reprisal?
and officers who know or have reasonable cause to believe that wrongful conduct has occurred are encouraged to report such conduct if they feel comfortable to. I mean, I would be happy if it just said superintendent of schools or designee, but and then there's this language, building principals or other supervisory personnel may also receive such reports and must notify the superintendent. That works.
Take out board?
Well, I wouldn't, because what if
But
it's
if it's
you?
me, I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
Like that, I was gonna say that, like,
Yeah.
what if it's me?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have, checks and balances here.
There
He
you
works
go.
for us.
And what if it's the
Yes.
board? They're gonna tell me, no, I think, honestly, I don't think you should take that out. I think you should keep it.
All right, so to the
Does it-
Board of Education or the Superintendent of Schools or designee,
Mhm.
period. Building principals or other supervisory personnel. We also,
How about auditor, independent auditor, audit committee? I'm just wondering if those are things that you maybe wanna keep in there. I think
don't know,
any
the whole
personnel.
point of this policy is you can tell whoever
Yeah,
outside the
that's
school
it.
you think, and this is just who you're encouraged to tell internally.
So why don't we just say, or any other personnel? There,
I
right?
I don't wanna say meaningless language.
But they just
You
need
want
to tell us
people
about
to
it.
know if they wanna report internally, who to go to. But expanding the list, I don't know that it gets us much more than.
As long as
another
people know, if
superintendent.
it happens and there's an allegation, it automatically has to go to me or the board.
Does the
Well, it doesn't
terminology
have to, people are just encouraged.
encourage?
Well,
And
I'm saying if it goes, but I'm saying if the principal gets it, or if the auditor gets
Yes,
it, then it
yes.
has to come to me.
Right.
Like, they can't just not do it.
this phrase, if they feel comfortable, is that,
This is
what's the
softening,
purpose of that phrase?
this is softening the change in the law, so the civil service law, I think, if I recall.
Let's say, I don't know that, so you,
I think the policy or the law used to require an internal report.
Yeah,
And then there was a concern that that could, so the change to the law no longer requires public employees to notify their employers of alleged wrongdoing before bringing their concerns to a higher authority. So, like, if you're a public employee, or executive employee, let's say, executive branch, you have an obligation to bring.
oh, but if I don't feel
Legal.
comfortable, then I
Well,
guess I
that's-
forego my obligation.
Well, the idea was you don't have to report it internally if you have some other place that you're required to report it to, because you could fear reprisal from your employer if you reported it directly to them. That's what the change was, to no longer require that internal report.
That, to me, is a circumstantial qualifier here that says, are you comfortable? Yeah, no.
This is softening it, right? NISBA wants to say, hey, internally, people still want to know.
Yeah.
But only if you feel comfortable telling them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan either. But
I'm not a
that's-
but it's the law though, right? It's,
I don't know.
No,
if that's-
no.
I don't know.
so
if
take
that's
it out, say required.
Well,
It's not required. No, we can't say it's required.
it does say encouraged. They're encouraged to report such contact, but then we really soften, but only if you feel comfortable. That's.
No, we could,
That's
I
a,
mean, so the idea that we've been pushing is see something, say something.
right. And does that mean you have to feel comfortable?
So you want that,
I want that phrase out. That's me.
where is that?
You can leave it in there and let others,
RD,
let
how
the
do you
board
feel?
decide.
encouraged
You got it.
conveys
Yeah.
the if you feel comfortable aspect, right?
I agree.
We're not saying you have to. It's superfluous.
Agreed. Thank you.
Who wants to take it out loud for me? Give me the,
All these
area
little
where it is.
snowflakes.
It's the same paragraph that we ran
Page
before.
Page 2.
Okay, I gotta get going.
Okay,
All right, so we'll make that change, and then I think these three
we can clean them up for the,
will be cleaned up and they're ready for
Yep.
presentation to the full board. So do we have a 9.6?
yeah, they're all adoptions.
Okay, so we should be able to do these as, we call it second reads, right?
Yep.
Okay, so these should all be good to go.
Here's a long list
in the next
in the
meeting.
future, huh?
Yeah, and then for future, the agenda's posted, so anyone who's interested can look at it, but we have a lot on our plate
I'm
going
gonna add
forward.
another one too.
Okay, and then, code of conduct, just to circle back on that one, we do have a requirement to review the code of conduct annually. So we'll make sure we prioritize that and get that done.
Yeah, I'm gonna add the student government, the student body, board member. I wanna review that policy again and change a couple things in it, I think, make a couple
Okay.
recommendations.
Okay.
And also, I'd like you to look at that and make recommendations based on it, since you've lived it for a year.
Good idea.
That's a good idea. I think it's, you put it out there, you think it's great, but then.
I think
now that
I think we
we're
should look
doing
at it.
It's
Yep.
a good idea. Yep,
That sounds good.
Okay, so yeah, so we have a lot on our agenda and.
Yeah.
We'll just get through it. Okay.
Good job.
Yes, and thank you, Trish, for putting together the agenda. Very helpful.
Yeah.
All right,
As always,
Yeah.
amazing job.
All right.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Let me end the recording.